Welcome to Fame Unfolded, the only channel where we look at things that cost more than a spaceship and wonder, why did they do that? I am your host, Ethan, and today we are looking at the top 10 most expensive red carpet outfits of all time. You know, those dresses that cost so much money you could buy an island, or at least a giant mountain of ice cream? Sometimes I complain about spending $20 on a shirt, but these celebrities are out here wearing the equivalent of an entire bank vault on their shoulders. Let us get right into it. 10. Anne Hathaway's red Valentino dress. $80,000. Can you imagine wearing a dress that costs as much as a really nice sports car? Back in 2011, Anne Hathaway hosted the Oscars and wore this bright red Valentino dress. It was shiny, it had a big fancy bustle in the back, and it probably had an invisible force field around it to keep ketchup away. For $80,000, if someone spills a drop of soda on you, you just have to cry for 3 days straight. If it was me, I would wear a plastic raincoat over it the entire night. The dress was paired with a necklace worth $10 million. If I wore a $10 million necklace, I would walk like a stiff robot so I would not accidentally drop it or bump into a wall. Anne looked beautiful, but I bet she was absolutely terrified of tripping on the carpet. 9. Kate Winslet's mint green Valentino dress. $100,000. Next up, we have a dress that costs $100,000. Think about that for a second. You could buy a whole house in some places, or exactly 1 million pieces of bubblegum. Kate Winslet wore this mint green dress to the Oscars in 2007. Mint green is a great flavor for ice cream, but as a dress color, it was an absolute hit. It made her look like a very elegant mermaid who just found a pot of gold at the bottom of the ocean. The funny thing about a $100,000 dress is that you cannot just throw it in the washing machine when it gets dirty. You probably have to hire a wizard to clean it. Imagine the dry cleaning bill for this thing. You walk into the cleaner and say, "Yes, hello, please wash my dress and be extremely careful. It costs more than your entire building." 8. Charlize Theron's white Dior dress. $100,000. Moving on to another $100,000 dress. In 2013, Charlize Theron wore a white Christian Dior dress that was so bright it could probably guide ships safely to shore during a storm. White is the bravest color anyone can wear. If you give a kid a white shirt, it is covered in spaghetti stains in exactly 5 seconds. But celebrities on the red carpet have magic powers. Or maybe they just do not eat anything all day. The dress had a unique peplum shape, meaning it had a little extra skirt around the waist. Maybe that is where she hid her snacks for the long award show. If I paid $100,000 for a dress, it better come with built-in snack pockets, a cup holder, and a tiny air conditioner. 7. Charlotte Rampling's Armani Privé dress. $125,000. Now we are getting to the really big numbers. For $125,000, Charlotte Rampling wore a dress with long sleeves, pocketed tails, and a silk jacket covered in multicolored crystals. Pocketed tails. See? Even rich people love pockets. When you ask a woman where she got her dress, the first thing she says is, "Look, it has pockets." But this one has pockets that cost more than a college education. The crystals on the dress were so shiny she looked like a walking chandelier. Honestly, if the lights went out at the award show, they could have just pointed a flashlight at Charlotte and she would have lit up the whole room like a human disco ball. It is both a fashion statement and an emergency lighting system. 6. Lupita Nyong'o's Calvin Klein pearl dress. $150,000. We have reached $150,000, folks. Lupita Nyong'o wore this custom dress entirely covered in 6,000 hand-sewn pearls. 6,000. Someone had to sit there with a tiny needle and thread and count. 1, 2, 3, all the way to 6,000. I lose count when I am trying to remember how many slices of pizza I just ate. The dress was incredibly heavy, sounding like a beautiful wind chime every time she walked. But here is the crazy part. After the award show, someone actually broke into her hotel room and stole the dress. The thief probably thought he could sell the pearls to pirates. But then he found out the pearls were fake, just part of the design, and he brought the dress back. He literally returned the stolen dress because he was disappointed. Even criminals have standards, folks. Hey, before we get to the top 5 most ridiculously expensive dresses that cost more than a fleet of airplanes, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give this video a big thumbs up and let me know in the comments if you would rather buy a $150,000 dress or a giant swimming pool filled with chocolate pudding. I think we all know the right answer. Join the Fame Unfolded family today. Now back to the countdown. 5. Kate Blanchett's Armani Privé dress, $200,000. Imagine wearing a dress that costs $200,000. Kate Blanchett wore this sparkly masterpiece, and it was entirely covered in tiny, shiny crystals. When I say covered, I mean it looked like she had rolled around in a huge pile of fairy dust and diamonds. The funny thing is, the dress was so form-fitting, she could barely take normal steps. She had to walk like a penguin wearing a very fancy tuxedo. Try explaining that to your grandmother. Yes, Grandma, my dress costs $200,000, but I have to waddle like a little duck to get to the stage. For that price, the dress should have small wheels on the bottom so you can just roll around the red carpet. Maybe add a remote control too, so your friends can just drive you to your seat. 4. Beyoncé's Givenchy dress. $300,000. We all know Beyoncé is the queen of everything, but in 2016 she took it to another level. She wore a dress made out of latex. Yes, the same rubbery stuff they used to make balloons. But this was not just any balloon. Each pearl on this dress supposedly cost thousands of dollars, bringing the total to a whopping $300,000. Putting on a latex dress is not like slipping into a comfortable pair of pajamas. You practically need a team of scientists, a lot of baby powder, and maybe a shoehorn to squeeze into it. And once you are in, you absolutely cannot eat a big dinner. No cheeseburgers for Beyoncé that night. Just imagining the squeaky sound it makes when she walks makes me giggle. Squeak, squeak, squeak. There goes $300,000 squeaking down the red carpet. 3. Princess Diana's Victor Edelstein velvet dress. $340,000. Now we are going back in time to royalty. Princess Diana wore an off-the-shoulder dark blue velvet dress that later sold at an auction for $340,000. She famously wore this beautiful dress to a fancy dinner at the White House, where she danced with the actor John Travolta. I can only imagine what was going through her head. Do not step on my toes, John. This dress costs more than a literal castle. Velvet is such a cozy fabric. It is basically the same material used to make my grandfather's favorite armchair in the living room. But I am pretty sure my grandfather's chair did not cost $340,000. If I wore this dress, I would probably just fall asleep standing up because velvet is so warm and soft. The auction price just shows how much people loved Princess Diana. She could have worn a potato sack, and someone would have bought it for $1 million. 2. Nicole Kidman's Christian Dior dress. $2 million. Hold on to your hats, because we are jumping from the thousands straight into the millions. In 1997, Nicole Kidman wore a golden green dress by Christian Dior that cost $2 million. Let me repeat that very slowly. $2 million. You could buy a whole neighborhood for that price. Or a lifetime supply of tacos. The dress was very unique, with a high collar and complex embroidery. It looked a bit like she was starring in a sci-fi movie about stylish aliens. I wonder if the dress came with its own personal security guard. If I wore a $2 million dress, I would make everyone stay at least 10 feet away from me at all times. Excuse me, sir, no sneezing near the millions. I bet even the moths in her closet know better than to take a bite out of this dress. They probably just bowed down to it instead. 1. Marilyn Monroe's white pleated dress, $4.6 million. And finally, the most expensive red carpet dress of all time. Drumroll, please. It is Marilyn Monroe's white pleated dress, which sold at an auction for an unbelievable $4.6 million. Yes, $4.6 million. This is the extremely famous dress from the classic movie The 7-Year Itch, where she stands over a subway grate and the air blows the dress up around her knees. It is probably the most famous dress in the entire history of dresses. It is more famous than some presidents. Imagine spending $4.6 million on a single piece of clothing. You cannot even wear it outside, because a bird might fly over and ruin it. For $4.6 million, the dress better do my homework, clean my bedroom, and cook me dinner every single night. The person who bought it probably put it in a giant glass box with lasers around it like a superhero movie. But hey, it is a huge piece of history, and it proves that a simple white dress can be worth more than a private jet. Well, that was it for today. We survived looking at all those expensive dresses without going completely broke. Here is a funny joke for you before we go. Why did the fancy dress go to the doctor? Because it had a bad case of the stitches. Ha! Ha! If you enjoyed learning about clothes that cost more than my entire life, please check out our other awesome videos here on Fame Unfolded. Stay stylish, keep your ice cream away from your fancy clothes, and I will see you next time.